What is going on, Movie Meals? Movie Meals. Here we are for the Stranger Things review. Finally, we can finally. It takes a while. There's a lot of TV out right now. I've been
Yeah.
watching a lot. So, um, before we get into it, thank you, Movie Meal patrons, Kimberly and Karen. Go get some Movie Meal merch, guys. We started a podcast talking about all things in the world of entertainment, stuff in the news recently, nerd stuff, just more in depth because we like that conversation. Clip outs do come out the following Monday, but not everything will be out on the channel the following Monday. So it's for $1. So if you want to join the Patreon, follow the link in the description. Join the Patreon for $1. It would mean a lot to us. We'd love to get you to watch a show as we up and up more exclusive things. But let's get into it. So we're going to talk Stranger Things spoiler review. We're going to talk spoil it here. Kyle wants me to start because he says he doesn't have his thoughts fully ready. So I'll start here, which is weird. But I think this is the best season since season one. I think going more back to horror was the best thing they could have done. More going into legit horror roots that I think they actually tap into in season one and did not tap into in season 2 and 3 as much was very smart. Um, I liked this season. It's kind of weird that they're split up because the crew's split up the whole time. Um, and it one of the things that does annoy me about Stranger Things is that we'll build these relationships for a season, we like them, and they'll split a bunch of them up, and then we'll get old. Like in this season, it was a lot of old relationships with some of the new ones, and sometimes I wonder if the Duffer Brothers are sitting there being like, "Well, everybody liked these two together, so they need to be together this season." And everybody didn't like these two together, so we're going to separate them. And I'm ready for the whole crew to bring the fight to the Upside Down. That's what I am truly ready for. I still have not gotten it, and it annoys me. I want them to go into the Upside Down, guns blazing, ready to bring the fight to them. Uh, we don't get that. We do get a little bit more of the Upside Down getting trapped in this episode, which I liked the use of light. I like this villain Vecna. Um, and I like the way he's used. I think the last episode, again, spoilers, is awesome, where it's number one, and that we get more of her backstory as 11 taps into her memories of things that she buried in her mind. I think worked really well with him being the actual murderer of all these children, and she always thought it was her, and that the Upside Down had already existed, that these monsters had already existed, but that he gets sent there when 11 kind of really attacks with her full power and then changes and morphs. I want to see more of how that change happened. I want even more of this backstory. I liked the best thing about season one for me is it's a mystery with monsters. It's Scooby
Mhm.
Doo. That's what I wanted. I wanted where the season one. You're like, where's Will? Where is Will? Who are the monsters?
Well,
What is going on? That's what I
sorry.
like. Season two is let's build relationships and we're gonna fight the monster again. Season three is new relationships, new characters. We're gonna fight the monster again. Buddy's bigger, and to me, same thing. It's the same thing, and I think a lot of people give it a pass because they really like. I'm blanking on the characters' names. They really like the two kids together. Is it Steve? Is one of them right? Uh,
Yeah, are you talking about Steve and Dustin or Steve and
Dustin is who I'm talking about.
okay.
Because season three, I remember the highlight of that ending was, wow, we love Steve and Dustin together more than anybody else. And
Yeah.
so season four is okay. We got to keep Dustin here so he can be with
Mm.
Steve and stuff like that. And I'm ready for the crew to get together. Some storylines are starting to wear where it's like, there's not a lot going on for some character. Well, that's actually not true. I take that back. I disagree with that opinion. I've seen a lot of people kind of complain about what goes on with Will and everything, but I didn't mind it because it was all mystery. And that's what I like. This season was back to, okay, there is a new monster. Who is this guy? We got to figure it out. And I like that we're doing some more mystery. The horror's back. So this season really worked for me. I do think it's the best since season one. I'm thinking of rewatching the show for season 4. I'm thinking of not. I probably won't rewatch season 4 since I just watched it, but I think I'll take this month and watch season 1, 2, and 3. I'm
Oh,
thinking about it because
yeah.
I'm curious to see how much it all connected. I'm starting to see some people post on social media that it was a lot more connected, and one of my complaints was going to be, did they really set this villain up for season 4 before? I'm starting to be see some stuff that says they did and we just forgot because of their very dumb we're going to release everything at once method. But what tune in here, Kyle. What do you think? I've said a lot.
You have said a lot, man.
You asked me. You didn't have any thoughts. I had quite a few. So that's your
No,
fault.
but now I do have thoughts. I do agree with you that I think next to season 1, season 4 is probably the next best season. It is really really excellent.
I
And
agree.
what I have liked was the two things you kind of, well, actually the one thing you'd mentioned, which was it kind of brings itself back to the horror elements that we loved so much in the first season. The second season, it does a little, but it kind of loses away due to the story, at least in my opinion. And season 3 kind of felt more pop culture of the 80s driven rather than the horror aspects, at least
Yeah.
when I last watched it
More of the
and thinking
aesthetic of
about it.
where they are than what's actually happening in our story. It was, oh, it's fun that we're
Correct.
in, and that one took place on the 4th of July, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I I I I'm annoyed that this show did not come out in October. I am. I think it would have hit so much better. I mean, I liked it. It's obviously real popular, but I hope the final season for season 5 drops in October and they go back to Halloween, drop it at spooky season and own that month. But sorry, I cut you off. Can please continue.
That's all right. The second thing that I really like so much is, for the most part, this feels more character driven. I think the Duffer Brothers, they do a really good job at listening to the characters and the pairings of the characters that the audience really likes and really gravitates towards. And I think we see that with the pairings of, Steve and Dustin, or the pairings of Lucas and Max, kind of those things. But it's working to the next degree to where, you're seeing a little bit more of like what Lucas is going through in his life, or seeing, especially with Max, the
Yeah.
actress, I'm spacing on her name, but she's like the best part of this show right now. Like, there's a lot of good character stuff going on, and even with some of the
Sadie Sink
new
is her name.
Sadie Sink, yeah, she is excellent, and I think she's gonna have a really awesome career. And even with like the new characters, like the Eddie character, they do a good job with the character to where he grows on you throughout the show, and you really like
Mhm.
him. But I do agree with you. I think they have a problem with growing the character, adding more and more characters, and having so much of them together. Or let me start this over. They kind of have a problem with adding characters, and they also have a problem with knowing what to do with all of them. And granted, that would be hard to do. Like, you do have a really excellent cast, and at the time, like in season 1, there was a really good standing of like starting from the beginning and seeing like who works well and who doesn't work well. But over time, as the show has grown and the cast has grown, it is really hard to juggle all of those characters, even despite, each one of these episodes in season 4 being like an hour or over an hour long, which, by the way, I actually was very impressed that that didn't bother me. And I really liked it as
Really?
well. The pacing, yeah, the pacing really worked for me throughout this season.
No,
To my
I'm more
surprise.
I'm more questioning that you were surprised that an hour is worth it because all I have seen is that I see it on Twitter all the time. Stranger Things is doing it right. All the other streaming services are doing it wrong. Full hour episodes for these TV shows, more than hours. Like really expand what
Hmm.
you're doing. Don't and I think the shot was really just towards Disney because it's competing with Obi-Wan right now of we don't give us 45 minutes. Give us over an hour every episode in 6 episodes. But I was
It's hard,
curious that you
man.
wanted that.
It's hard, man. It just varies. I mean, I'm watching the new season of Barry right now, and each
Same.
episode's
30
like half an
30
hour.
minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, and it works. Like, it really works for me anyway. So
Yeah, Barry's a
it's just
very
hard to judge
different
that thing.
show, too, where Barry really
Sure,
lends itself to being shorter. Like an hour of a Barry episode, I'm not sure that would work because it would
maybe.
just kind of be him sulking the whole time because he did for 45 minutes and then the action hits. But
Hmm.
uh anyway, continue.
But yeah, I think that's kind of like where the weakness of the show lies, is that while it does a good job at knowing what characters to use and how to grow them, there also is just so many of them that they really get pushed to the side, or they just kind of feel, um, they don't really relate much to the story. I mean, especially with Will, and I'm spacing on the curly haired kid's name, what his character's name is, but that arc of
Dustin?
them like trying. No, the one with the black hair dating 11. I don't know why I'm spacing on that character's name right now.
Oh,
Is it
Finn
Mike?
Wolfhard's character?
Yeah, it might be Mike.
It's,
Um,
Mike. Yeah, you're right.
Thank you. But, that arc, I think something's going to become of it when the final two episodes of the season go about. But, in terms of that pairing that's happening, in terms of, what the story is, it's definitely like the least interesting aspect as compared to, like I said, the stuff involving Max or the stuff involving Steve and Nancy, like kind of getting back together, but kind of not, which that part will be interesting. I don't necessarily need them to get back together, but
I
at
don't
least
want them
it's
to get
showing
back
like the
together.
it kind of just shows like the growth of Steve. Like he was such a jerk and he wasn't ready for a relationship in the first season, and now he's
Mhm.
kind
A
of becoming
hero.
full circle. So I don't know. But it's good character stuff at least for the most part, and sometimes it just doesn't work and it's frustrating. But with such a big cast, it goes to expect.
I
Anyway, I
do
kind of
think
rambled on
it's
about that.
like they added the character of Eddie, and I liked him. He gave me young Robert Downey Jr. vibes, which I really liked.
Hmm. Okay.
But I like that actor. He was in Game of Thrones for a little bit. He's a good actor. But like we took the stoner like kind of outcast character away and replaced him with like a more intense stoner outcast character, like just to join the crew. Um,
Sure.
but it's interesting. They do a good job of the character, uh, fleshing out these characters because a show like I think of any other show that is evolved around a high school. And you think of like 13 Reasons Why, and suddenly there was 15 kids that have been around forever, and everybody knew, but you've never met them before, and it didn't work. And this, it's like, okay, yeah, first you're like, oh, here we go with the new characters. Then you're kind of into it, and you're like, okay, they fleshed them out a little bit. I'm enjoying what I'm watching. This is working. Um, I do I do really I think it's funny that it's so clear to me that David Harbour probably was going to be done with the show.
Hmm.
And when Hellboy didn't work and when some other things didn't work, and then I know that the creators rewrote it when it sounds from what I've heard that he was like, I wouldn't mind coming back. I'm filming this thing in Russia though, Black Widow. And they were like, oh, well, we could put you in Russia. So they kind of were, I mean,
Those
I
darn
guess
Russians.
that's not fully fair because they do tease at the end of season 3 that he's alive. They say, "Oh, don't bother with the American," as an after
Oh, do
credit
they?
scene. Yeah, they
Oh,
do.
oh, I
So I
forgot
guess
about
that's
that.
not fully fair, but maybe they weren't going to bring him back. Maybe they were, but I do know they've heavily rewrote and reshot some stuff to work around that. So maybe not reshot, but I know they rewrote a bunch of what they were going to do to uh to work around his schedule for him to be in Russia. The prison guard with him is an actor from Game of Thrones who I really like, and he does a great job in this show. He's a nice addition. Um,
That whole
I
plot
liked
line,
all the Russia stuff. I thought it was hysterical. It was the
I
funniest
don't
parts of the whole
know.
show for me.
I mean, it is the funniest part of the whole show, I'll give you that, but I don't know if I like it or not. Like,
No, it's
even
so
for
funny.
Stranger Things and its weird, not weird, but it's out there premise, it's still something about the Russia elements I just don't love. It's fine, but
Honestly,
I don't love it. Like, even
I
in
think
season 3, like, when they had Russians come in, I was like, "Is
I
this
agree with you on
really what
season
we
3.
need?" Like,
Well, yeah,
so
Russia makes sense for the 80s, the
it
Cold
does.
War Communist Party,
Yes.
but the fact
Yes,
like
it does.
Brett Gelman as Murray is so
Yeah.
funny to me. I love his character, and I thought he was way funnier in this than he has been since he was introduced last season. So I
Mhm.
was
Yeah.
really that's why I think I like the storyline so much because every time he was up, I was just him and Winona Ryder have great chemistry, and I thought the two of them really rocked it. But I really do hope
Yeah.
that the last because it's going to be 2 episodes. They're rumored to be like 2 hours long or longer, both of them.
Jeez.
In
Yeah.
July 1st is when they come out. I really, and then they said season 5 will be the finale. I hope it ends with with a lot of people want death. They want Will and Jonathan to die to get rid of the brothers because they think they've overstayed their welcome, which is
They, like,
really
kicked
funny to
start the
me.
show, but okay.
Yeah, I think they're still fine. I'm enjoying their little side quest with. I hope everybody at the end, if somebody dies, somebody dies. It'll probably be Eddie if it's anybody, because I don't know if they're ready to kill off a main cast member yet. But I think I don't know if they have the balls to do it. I hope season
Yeah.
4 ends with them losing and all together. I hope everybody comes together. They think they've won and they lose. And then they bring the fight to them in season 5. That's how you make this show go off on the best note possible. Uh, and it's going to be tough because that makes season 5 action, and I just said the season works so much better because they got back to mystery. But I think if season 5 ends with more mystery, I think now we've got a problem. I think we need to finally kind of solve what's going on here and figure out how to win the day, and then give me more of like a Mordor-esque Lord of the Rings adventure, like where they have to travel all of them through the Upside Down for like 4 episodes back to back to back. um, there were parts of the Upside Down in this season I thought did not look great. When they were in
No.
the castle, like his house, with
Mhm.
when she does the running, I love the running moment. And with the music and everything, I think it's a great moment. But I thought the CGI didn't look great, and I was like, "Where's the dust? And where's like the real creepy vibes? Like this is just red. That doesn't scare me as much as dark, spooky floating dust and all that." And then they obviously it ended up showing up, which made me very happy because I prefer that so much more. But
Right.
that was just me. You got any other final thoughts about Stranger Things?
I do want to talk about Vecna and Eleven and how they're crossing paths and how Vecna crosses paths with just about everyone in the show. I mean, minus like Will and Mike and Jonathan,
Well,
but
so people are saying, if you go back, and I've been seeing clips of season 1,
mm,
that Will is taken originally by Vecna, and they show that it's more of a humanoid person taking him, and that you can hear the clock, and that it's always been Vecna from start to
mm,
finish. And apparently, the Duffer Brothers, I know we had talked about it, and I remember hearing about it, but they've come and talked more about this, where they had a big map of what they were going to do. Like they had like this. I remember when season 1 came out, there was this big thing about they've sat down and they have this manuscript about what the Upside Down is. Apparently, before Netflix greenlit the show, they said, you need to tell us everything about the Upside Down, and there needs to be a through line from start to finish. And apparently, we're seeing that final, like, really pay off now, is what's happening. That they wrote
okay,
this like 24-page document of what happens in the Upside Down, of Vecna, of all these different creatures and whatnot, and that this has actually been a through line. That's why I want to rewatch it, because I didn't believe it. I was like, "Where's the through line?" So I'm gonna rewatch it. But I didn't mean to cut you off, but I thought that was an interesting point.
no, that is interesting. What I do like about Vecna is that we finally have a face to the threat, and it's actually a
Yes.
really good threat. Like I,
Yeah.
I, I think when it comes to how much this thing cares about living people and just goes after, these children who have gone through the ringer and kills them the way they do, it's both weirdly satisfying but also like really haunting at the same time, which lends itself um um to the tone of the show and the horror elements of the show. But I really liked how he and Eleven are kind of intertwined. It made me think back to season 2 with that episode of her
Ugh,
discovering like all the other
her sister.
people.
I
It made
wanted to
me
talk
think
about that.
like all I'm saying is that it kind of made me think like even the Duffer Brothers were like, yeah, okay, that didn't work well, but maybe this doing it this way kind of is what we were trying to do, but it works for the overall thread of the story as well. And I kind of wish 11 could have done a little bit more, but it was just really interesting stuff and interesting with the actor who I'm spacing on his name, who turns out to be Vecna. But um, it's a really interesting
Yeah.
character arc that he goes through. But he's also a really good actor in this role, and apparently, all the look of Vecna for the most part is practical, which I always thought
Yeah.
was
I thought it
interesting
looked
because
awesome.
it looked awesome, and all the CGI stuff around it, and like you said, at times, uh, it's good, but it's not great. But
Sometimes I think it's great.
he kills it with all, and the practical is fantastic.
Yeah, I think when Steve falls through the water gate and he
Mhm.
gets attacked by the bats, that's to me when it looks it's at its best. It's
I
dark,
agree.
it's
Yeah.
intense. Um yeah, the actor who plays one I thought was really good. I've seen a lot of people go, "Where's the sister?" Where's all these other people? I think the worst thing they could do for this show is bring them all in at the end of this season or during next season to help fight. I think it would be a terrible decision. It would take away a lot of the payoff of like 11 winning the day and being our hero than if these characters we saw for one episode in season 2 showed up and did it too. I wouldn't be a fan of that. I think I saw a TikTok the other day and it was like, "Where's her sister? Here's the theories." And I said out loud, "Who cares? It was a bad storyline. They're rewriting it." Like I think they have had a plan with Vecna all along, and maybe they do have a plan with the siblings and the other kids who were there. But I think they are good at letting some storylines that didn't pan out the way they thought die, and I think this is one that needs to go. I don't want to see the sisters. We have a villain now. I loved the backstory. It felt personal. I want to see 11 versus 1. I don't want all these other kids coming in with superpowers helping out. I think
Oh,
now we have the
those
umbrella.
sisters. Okay.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. I don't know
They
why I
say
was
they're
blinking.
sisters
Right,
in the
they do.
show.
They do. I forgot about that. I forgot about that. No, it's fine. We don't need them.
Kyle's
It's
just sitting
fine.
there contemplating. No, we don't need him at all. And a lot of people think they're coming back, and I think it would be a mistake. I think it would be a mistake for your character, for your story, for the momentum. This season feels like setup. It felt like setup right now. Like the way it ended felt like setup. We figured out who the villain is. I want season 5 to be the payoff, and don't ruin the payoff by bringing in bad written characters and a bad design. That was one of the worst parts of season 2 was 11 on her little side quest. Like I enjoy her getting her powers way more than I enjoyed her running off
It was
to
a better
see her
side
parents.
quest.
And
Yeah.
please don't start season 5 with her in high school getting bullied. I've seen it twice now. I'm over it. Like I'm over it.
Oh, yeah.
It
Yeah.
happens at the
Although
start of
she
season 3 and then it happens at the start and it worked. I liked it in this season, but if
that
season season
rollerblade to the head, man.
oh yeah.
That was
I
crazy.
liked that shot too because it took a while for the blood to start coming out, and I thought that was like a
Yeah.
great little detail.
Yeah.
And Finn Wolfhard, can he do more? He didn't. I like this side quest they're on, but he was to the background more than all of the other characters. Like I was much more into Jonathan and his hippie buddy than I was into
I
to
I just
Will
like that
and.
John. Yeah. Sorry, you go. You go.
No, you go. You got it.
I was just
I
gonna
agree with
say
what you're gonna say.
what made me happy with that Jonathan finally got someone to play off of that wasn't Will or Nancy, and it was
Yes.
actually like fun.
Somebody that he gets along with and it brings some humor. That dinner table
Yeah.
scene is so funny.
Yes.
It's been a while since I've laughed that hard at a scene like that. It was
Hmm.
so funny with them being confused and then Maury ending it and he's like, "We all hated the I'm sensing some tension and you all hated my risotto." Like it's like what? Uh, oh, it's so good. But all right, let's wrap this up. Guys,
Yeah.
what do you think of the show? Comment below, let us know. I'm gonna like, subscribe, comment, share. Go check everything out. And as always, thank you to the Movie Meal patrons. And again, as always, thanks for watching, Mom.
See you guys.